Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back, of course, to the Sim Racing Collective. We're here for a little bit of an intermittent series in terms of the gaps of the PC GT3 series. We're here for the PC GT3 Super Sprint, a 3-week, 3-round shootout as we tackle 3 very historic circuits around the world. We kickstart things off here, of course, at the heart of British motorsport here in Silverstone for 15 minutes of qualifying and the usual 40 minutes of racing. But things work a little bit differently in this championship, and we'll get into that in just a second. My name is Zach Sweeney. I'm alongside Kelsey Gill with Kieran Sharp, of course, pushing the buttons behind the broadcast, making it all look very, very pretty and glorious behind the scenes as well. But Kelsey, of course, welcome back for a new season of sorts to the TSRC. Should be a very fun one, albeit with a slightly altered format.
Yeah, it should be. We've got 3 rounds of super sprints, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to have some great races, of course. We're going to have some qualifying now, but this is the only qualifying session we're going to have all season long, because it's going to be reverse top 10 for the rest of the season. And with 38 open driver spots on there for the drivers, there's a chance for absolute, well, carnage or just some absolute fun racing out there. And we've got some great drivers sort of looking through on the rankings there. Keep an eye on the likes of let's take a look through my little list here. I should have had it open in preparations for this, but I didn't. There's Christian Müller, who is ranked as an alien, folks, so that's my little point on there. Keep an eye on Christian Müller, the German driver. There's, of course, your last season champion of the GT3, Bailey Thompson. And then there's a few other familiar faces. You've got the Italian Mafia in amongst there as well. Just looking at a few other drivers. There's Damian Konchik. Keep your eye on him. Ollie Henley looks like a fairly quick driver on the rankings there. Chris Tedder out there as well. There's just plenty of drivers to keep an eye on, which is going to make for a very interesting little intermediate, well, intimate, not intimate, that's the wrong word. But a little small session. It can be, I suppose, but a little small session to lead us up to Christmas.
Depends how much you like the TSRC. Not naming names, but Andrew Pike, I'm just saying. But yeah, right. No, it's, yeah, sort of that. Not intermittent, because that's sort of no, that doesn't really work. Intermediate, yeah. Interim, that one.
Interim,
the interim. That is the word that we're looking for. There's so many inters, and me and Kelsey, we're low IQ and we're commentators. So there you go. We never know what we're talking about. Anyway, at the moment we are in qualifying, of course, in these magnificent GT3 machines. And Silverstone in and of itself, Kelsey, a very, very fun circuit to tackle, albeit maybe sometimes fairly difficult to overtake at. Maybe track position could mean a little bit more here.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic circuit. It's one of the staples of British motorsport. It's the home of Formula One, of course, home of the Aston Martin Formula One team, and just home to many, many forms of motorsport throughout its series. It's an old World War II airstrip turned into a racetrack. It's an absolutely fantastic corners. Does mean the wind does pick up a little bit around here, but this iteration of the circuit, you start along Woodcott into Cobb's Corner, a fantastic corner, whether it's turn 1 or I think it's turn 9 in its other iterations, then through Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, down the Hanger Straight, I believe, and then it's in towards Stowe, down through the Vale Chicane, through Club Corner, down the Hamilton Straight, then it's Abbey Farm, Village, the Loop, Aintree, through the Wellington Straight, then onto Brooklands, then Luffield to round off the lap as you charge up through Woodcott and back in towards Cobb's Corner for another go around.
Yeah, a very, very fun circuit indeed. I love driving at Silverstone. I think it is so much fun. It's one of the only flat circuits that I actually enjoy driving at. Silverstone, very, very flat in its own right, of course, because it is on an airstrip as such. So there's not really much room for undulation because that's slightly impractical. That was a very impractical line, but a very, very cool one there, said by Mirko Ukasic going through turn number 1 as it is on this particular layout. At the moment, though, 3/4 of a second behind the pole time set by Konchik in, of course, the Audi. 1:57.6 is an absolutely rapid time, and that gets beaten by Ela, who themselves go up to a 1:57.3. That is rapid, but I suppose with it being so cloudy and overcast, Kelsey, the more track time these cars get put down, the warmer the cars get, the warmer the tyres get, the more in rhythm with the track these drivers get. Surely we're going to see those lap times go down a bit.
Yeah, I think track evolution will play a bit of a big factor here, of course. It's just going to keep ramping up. I think the circuit, the grip's going to be laid down by the rubber being brazed away on the track through the friction. There's a little Tokyo drift there from Samuel Disco in the Aston Martin as he comes through. A nice livery on that Aston Martin, it must be said. But yeah, the track's going to continue to ramp up. The drivers are going to continue to find time, find grip, find comfortability with the car, I suppose, as well, and just get within a rhythm, get in the zone, get dialed in, however you want to sort of pronounce getting yourself into that area for some consistent quick laps out there. And it's, you know, I guess for those who haven't perhaps done any sort of practice, it's a little bit of a practice session as well, if you're not too bothered about how high your results are. But you know, I think every racing driver's bothered if they're not finishing toward the front or in the top 10 or whatever your goals are for a race. But it's going to be an interesting qualifying session. Henley's now at the top, and I think these times are going to continue to tumble, as you say, Zach.
Yeah, I think so. We've still got over half the session left to go, so plenty of time for these guys to put their quick lap times in. But that being said, it is a 2-minute lap time, and unless they're out there for the entire 8-minute session, they might only get sort of 2 or 3 more runs in. Of course, if they continue consecutively, then sure, they can get, you know, maybe 4 laps more in. Depends obviously how much fuel they put into the car, how much the tyres can take, how much they can take as well, going for consecutive laps. We've got Giuseppe Zampieri, a returning driver, a recognisable driver from the GT3 PC series. Got that the wrong way around. PC GT3 series, there we go. I've been commentating that for over a year. Still can't get it right. It's absolutely fine. Maurice Stryker, though, taken to the Ferrari 296. Likes to alternate between this car and the Honda NSX, of course, the Flying Dutchman in the 404. But so far, can't find any errors in his driving. He's up in A's.
Yeah, he had a great season last season, Zach, didn't he, in that Honda? He was sort of on the tail of the likes of Bailey Thompson and the rest of the top 3 there. But he was always there, wasn't he? He was fairly consistent last season. He did a great job, and I do love his livery design. It's iconic, it's striking, it's Maurice Stryker and his livery out there. It's always strange to see a blue Ferrari, I suppose, but I don't dislike it whatsoever. There's Ryan Blanchett. I think he's changed up his car. We normally see him in an Aston Martin. He's taken onto the Porsche for this super sprint, which, well, is I think one of the more popular cars. It's normally a nice split between the Ferrari and the Porsche, but I'm seeing a few more McLarens at the moment, which is interesting.
Yeah, funny you say that actually, because I recently commentated on the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals, and obviously we saw some of the Sim Racing Collective teams represent that, of course, with the TSRC 500 Endurance Series that you might have seen on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. The best qualifying teams went and raced for them in Watkins Glen. A fair few teams actually did go for that McLaren 720S, so it seems to be quite a favourite in terms of the sort of the balance of performance. Obviously, using the LFM balance of performance, sort of the universally accepted one as such, and that 720S definitely seems to be slightly benefited by that, because so many people seem to be using it as their favourite. Even in my personal experience, I found the McLaren, before all of the serious stuff of league racing and such, and just me playing on the console on ACC, that McLaren was very punchy here at Silverstone, very front end orientated, very light, very nimble to drive, and very pointy on the front end. So yeah, all in all, I think that McLaren should be a very, very good combo. Of course, it takes the right hands in order to drive the car fast, but if you can nail it, then you should be looking for a fairly good result.
Yeah, certainly. And I actually just noticed Samuel Chumley, he favours the McLaren in a lot of the seasons I've seen him racing. But he's in the Lexus for this super sprint, which the last time I saw the Lexus was in the hands of Jamie Nuttall, who I think he struggled with that car a little bit, or at least it wasn't as quick as the Ferrari he drove the season prior to that, because the Lexus quick in a straight line, but I think it lacks in a few other places. It leaves a lot to the imagination, does this car. It seems a little bit like it doesn't like cornering, or perhaps it's just not as nimble as the Ferrari, or not all well put together. I mean, as a driver myself, I like a car that I can trust to do what I want it to do. So I like to push as much as I can in any sort of car. So it needs a car that's stable for me, in all honesty, to get the most out of the way that I like to drive. But It all comes down to driving style with a lot of these cars, and that's one of the best parts about GT3 is that there's so many different cars that suit so many different drivers, and you get so many sort of different results, and it's always exciting because there'll be one driver who gets lots out of a Porsche, there'll be another driver who perhaps gets more out of a Ferrari or a Mercedes or a Lexus. It's just there's so much variety there, which makes the racing in GT3 cars all the better.
And yet we've got so much variety, so many different shapes and characteristics and engines as well. We go, I think the smallest engine we've got is a V6. You know, we've also got up to a V12 or a V10. The Lamborghini's got a V10. I'm not entirely sure if we have a V12 out there, but just in general, you know, we have that wide range, so many different engine manufacturers, so many different types from all over the world, so many different drivers as well, and yet, relatively speaking, it is all very competitive. Throughout the course of a whole season, from track to track, maybe there could be some more swing to one manufacturer than the other, but all in all, very, very consistent, very, very competitive stuff, and that's what we love to see from GT3. Maybe not so much from Rubini, who had a little bit of an off-track incursion. Now that is, well, it's the French colours, but with the wings, it seems very patriotic to, of course, the USA. I don't quite think that's the case for Jan Ehler, who might just be fielding, of course, their home country's colours. But I don't know, that just makes me question what kilometre is, I'll be honest.
Well, I saw that, Zach, and I thought of the football kit for the French national team, and I believe their logo is the rooster, if I'm not mistaken. So that's perhaps maybe more of a rooster tail than it is wings.
I mean, it's a Volker, I think.
Oh, well, there we go. But I don't know. I feel like at least that was where my head was when I saw that. You know, the French driver, French colours, and I was thinking of the French national football team and that rooster tail. But yeah, Valkyrie or wings does also make it seem rather patriotic towards the USA. But either way, it sits very nicely on that Mercedes, doesn't it?
Yeah, looks not too bad. There you can see Damien Konchik for Big Brain Racing, definitely showing some big brains right now, is to be up onto the second row of the grid with his final lap in qualifying yet to come. He's going to cross the line and do so. Actually, to be fair, could get away with doing 2 if he so wishes. He will cross the line before that timer ticks 0 and thus be able to finish his lap. As it stands, half a second off DeMarco, whose pole time as it stands sits at 56.6. With Copsey as well for flying at low altitude. Well, definitely are doing that there because you're very close to the ground. In that Ferrari 296, it would be a bit of an issue if you were at high altitude. At the moment, up into 6th place, but quite a hotly contested battle for, well, pretty much P2. DeMarco's got quite a good hold on the pole position, but behind that, it's fair game.
Yeah, there's some very close times there. The top 11 underneath a second. And I think there's definitely more time for a lot of the drivers to improve. Copsey and Sign won't be those among the improving drivers. They're in the pit lane, so their session's over. Here's James Wright in the Lamborghini, the car number 46, making his way down the straight. I think he's only just started a lap because that's Chapel there, and there's Stowe Corner in the background. So we'll see how the Lamborghini treats Mr. James Wright. I think he's favoured the Ferrari in the past, but gone to the other side of the Italian bench. Well, there's a few Italian manufacturers out there, isn't there? I mean, I suppose there's an Alfa Romeo, but they don't show up in the GT3s. I don't even think they've got a GT car, do they, Zach?
Yes. The 4C, I believe, is a GT3 car. Hang on, let me consult Google.
Commentator's best friend is Google, the internet, the most.
Yeah, no, that is a thing.
Useful. Yeah, there you go. I've just never seen one.
I mean, it's on Gran Turismo, which means it must be true, right?
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Hang on. Let's have a look. Wikipedia, my best friend. 1.7 turbocharged inline 4. That's not bad. Is there any racing history? Motorsport. There we go. Beautiful awards. Let's have a look. Performance car of the year, most beautiful car, nothing about race wins, so obviously it looked good but probably wasn't very quick, as is usually the case with Alfa Romeos, but regardless of which, yeah, we are towards the end of qualifying, and Alfa Romeo would be a nice addition.
Yeah. I mean, McLaren have recently got back into GT3, as far as I'm aware. And it's only a recent thing. Good old Zach Brown has been helming the torch for the motorsport side, but it's the end of qualifying. Can anybody improve? Marchioni in the Ferrari cannot improve his lap time. Can anybody else? There's Christian Muller, the driver that I'm keeping my eye on. What's he got underneath the bonnet of that Audi?
Let's have a look. Final chance, of course, to go quicker if he can. Across the line, and it's sixth place, 6/10 off pole position as well. DeMarco seems very secure unless Konchik or Ella can really make a bit of a statement to that pole time. It's going to be a huge improvement from the 777 and the 913 if they want to contend with DeMarco for pole position. But so far, that 56.6 looks unbeatable. Let's see how that transpires going into the race. But Jan Eller going into Brooklands for the final time. It's all about getting a good run through just to set yourself up quite nicely for Luffield, not tighten it up too much for yourself. So many different lines that you can take, opting to cut in for a nice late apex as Jan Eller, that run to the line. Let's see what the 777 can do. Shortest run through the line, of course, through Woodcut, and it's third place. Very nicely done. Great lap time set by that 777.
Yeah, not a bad attempt at all. There's Almonte, the Italian driver, in the German manufactured car into the pit lane. Not quite the route you're supposed to take across the grass. What about Konchik coming around Luffield now? One more corner to go for the 913 Audi car in that almost crash test dummy-esque looking livery on it. Let's see what he can do in this qualified session. Can he improve up towards pole position, or how close can he get crossing the line? Oh, he's not quite there. Or is he over? It's over. Yeah, there you go.
Not great. But to be fair, overall, not a bad session for him. Of course, with 50 minutes of qualifying in the books, we'll run you through the final grid order for the race ahead of us today. It was a very, very close and competitive qualifying session, hopefully tipped to be an interesting 40-minute one as well. They do have to make a mandatory stop, basically the same rule set as what we see in the PC GT3 series, the main one, of course, not the Super Sprint one. Well, I suppose, yeah, kind of in the Super Sprint one, because it's the same mandatory pit stop rules. But there you go, DeMarco, the one that takes pole position, a very sensational lap ahead of Ollie Henley, who will join him on row 1. Jan Eller and Marchione make up 3 and 4 ahead of Damien Konchik, who rounds off the top 5. He's joined, of course, by Christian Müller on row 3 ahead of Copsey and Syme, 7th and 8th. Then comes Marie Stryker and Tedder to round off the top 10 ahead of Pinner and Ukasic, 11th and 12th. Disco and Almonte keep each other company on row 7 ahead of Gray and Blanchet on row 8. Chumley, Wright, Gardner and Rubini round off the top 20. As we scroll our way through to the rest of the field, you can see Presici, Miller, Batista, Pryor, the likes of Gretchen, Zampieri, Miglioli, Chiala, Cisco, Giardi, Poli, West, Brown and Collier, the top 34 and final driver on the field. Of course, Brown and Collier unable to set a lap time in the dying stages or at all over the course of qualifying. So all to gain ahead of 40 minutes of racing action. Kelsey, should be a good one.
Oh yeah, it should certainly be a good one. It's going to be great. There's always great racing at Silverstone. Yeah, it can be a little bit tough to overtake. You get these sort of trains of cars that are all sort of close together but can't quite make the moves because it's such a high-speed circuit. There's only a few corners where you really have to slow down. I'm thinking Farm and Loop are probably two of the slower corners, and there's the Vale Chicane as well. No,
are you sure?
Village. Village. I always get those two the wrong way around. But yes, Village, then the Loop, and then of course Vale Chicane, and maybe Luffield to an extent, but it's not the best place to go for a move unless you're already alongside and towards Brooklands, just because of how the line it's naturally sort of sweeps out toward the outside, and if you're trying to go round the outside, you're probably going to find yourself in the gravel or on the grass. Wherever you end up positioning your car. I'm just taking a little look through the live chats on both streams. Remember, this is on the JP Broadcasting channel and the Sim Racing Collective channel as well. So wherever you are watching, hello. Phil across the pond, of course, avid watcher of the TSRC series. Winky faces from Alex B. DQ Dave says it looks American to him. Zach, so you've got somebody there. I think I feel like I've hit the money with my French rooster, so I'm sticking with that. And just to answer your question, DQ Dave, there's just one race this evening.
Yeah, just the one. But don't be greedy. There'll be plenty of racing action over the course of this. Don't you worry. Don't panic. Plenty to come. over the course of the next 40 minutes. As I say, a mandatory pit stop, and well, Silverstone and 38 odd 34 GT3 cars taken around this amazing, iconic, historic British circuit. Of course, we go to Suzuka and Brands Hatch over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'll be here in a week's time to talk you through Suzuka, and then I'm not sure who's taking you through Brands Hatch. I know you will be, of course.
I'll be here for every single round.
Who will be taking over for round 3? Yeah, good chat with that one. Obviously with the esteemed commentary team that we've got
Paul
here.
Glover.
Of course, Paul Glover. He's been here for the TSRC a couple of times. He joined me for COTA, I believe, not last season, the season before, when Kelsey decided he didn't want to show up. So that was good. Got to deal with Paul Glover for a couple of weeks. And he was great company. So you will be in great hands between the two of them. And then round off this short super sprint championship, of course, for sort of, as we said, that interim between the two seasons. I think we'll probably be going again for season 7 of the PC GT3 series, potentially going into the new year or whatever. We don't know. We're not in charge, so don't quote us on that. Kieran Sharp's probably one to ask on that one. But of course, if there is any news, get yourself involved and get on it. In terms of getting yourself in the racing, go to the SimGrid website, the TSRC host page of that, and certainly do get yourself involved. 40 minutes of racing action ahead of us, and well, we've got plenty of GT3 machines roaring their way around for their formation lap. Slightly colder, you can see the track temp 19 degrees, Kelsey, which, well, could be warmer.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I mean, it's not the coldest track temperatures I've seen. That has to go down to Vegas. What was it out there a couple of weekends ago? It was like 4 degrees on the track or something. No, it can't have been that low. Like 11 maybe, as far as I was aware. But yeah, could be a bit warmer. And I'm sure the drivers will need a little bit of time to get themselves warmed up, get the cars all ready to go, and get themselves ready to go racing.
Bring it on. And of course, this isn't the start-finish line that they are going to be taken to. It will be the other one, the old one, with from Woodcote to Copse. So they've still got about half a lap, or about a third of a lap left to warm themselves up, warm the tyres up, and get ready. I think for Davide DeMarco, his main aim going into turn number 1 is to not lose the lead. Of course, that goes without saying. That's very, very obvious. But it's such an easy thing to let slip. It's just a poor start. Henley getting a jump, being unprepared, going wide into turn 1. He's got to be so careful that he starts this race on good stead, because his qualifying pace showcases that he should probably run away with this.
Yeah, he definitely should. He was a fair few tenths ahead of Henley and Ella and Marchioni there. But if anybody can snatch the lead, then they're going to be in the driving seat. I mean, they're all in the driving seat, but they're going to be controlling the pace before the rest of this race. And it's not just rhymes you're getting from me, but commentary as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be important if Marco can keep hold of the lead, then he can try and just control the rest of the drivers, get a decent header on this. But we've seen it before, where a couple sprint races ago, back in the TSR series, Chumley snatched the lead at this circuit, and look what it got him.
Yeah, let's wait and see. 40 minutes ahead of us, DeMarco and Henley on the front row for the first ever round of the TSRC PC GT3 Super Sprint. We take to 3 historic circuits around the globe, and today we start off here in Silverstone. Qualifying was close, competitive, and hopefully going to set us up for a chaotic race. We wait for Davide DeMarco on the dirty side of the track to set us off. The green flag to wave. 34 cars battle their way around the home of British motorsport. 2 McLaren share the front row. How are they going to do on home soil? The green flag is waved, the green light is go, and we are underway here in Silverstone, side by side for the lead momentarily as we run away into Copse Corner. It's a short run, of course. DeMarco leads from Henley, and there you can see side by side Christian Muller trying to move his way past this fellow Audi R8 machine of Damien Konchik, going into Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell, the Porsche of Syme as well. Battling away with Copsey, but no way through for now. There you can see Maurice Stryker trying to get off to a good start, unfortunately tumbling down to 10th in the opening moments. So far so good though for the leaders. Yeah,
look like a fairly clean start from everybody. They all got their way through. Maggots, Beckett's and now Chappell nice and cleanly, and our leader DeMarco really did control. He had the inside, was able to get himself positioned well on the corner, and keep that place from his rival just behind him as well. Here's Disco trying to go down the inside of Stowe corner. A few drivers getting a little bit squirrely on the exit. The rear end just not quite behaving as they want. There's a Mercedes diving down, looking for the space, trying to find a move. A few cars fighting behind as well. There goes an Audi, BMW going backwards or sideways even. There's a few cars off the circuit there as well as we go through Club Corner.
Oh, and that is Paolo Rubini having a slight bit of a skill issue coming through the Vale chicane, cutting his way across and down to 30th place to round off the first half of lap 1. Pietro Marchione fighting away with Koncic just behind and Ella just in front. Let's see how the Italian can battle his way forward. A very white Ferrari 296, but a very beautiful one at that. We've got the Flying Valkyrie just ahead of him in third. Let's see if Koncic can have any contention going into Brooklands. Quite close enough on that particular occasion, but still a very, very close fight, it must be said. DeMarco not quite able to make the gains that you'd expect from him, but still, it's only one lap into this race. Henley has got to show some sheer consistency if he wants to contend.
Yeah, Henley was looking quite racy toward the beginning. He was right in the, he was right up in the bumper of DeMarco just ahead, but he just couldn't quite get through. It doesn't really allow for overtaking with Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel unless there's a mistake. So you've really got to try and nail those corners, use the draft to your advantage, and just hope that you can try and get close enough down towards Stowe corner if there's any sort of chance. But it's all sort of this status quo at the moment. They're all fairly close together. It looks like Ela in the background is defending from the Ferrari of Macchione as they go in towards Stowe corner. They're still as they were, but it's going to be interesting. And of course, there's a mandatory pit stop in this race as well, Zach. We can't forget about that, where there's mandatory refueling as well, of course. You don't have to change your tyres if you don't want to, although it may give you an advantage to do so.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of times that it works. It obviously all depends on how much the tyres wear. It's only a 40-minute race, so you wouldn't think it'd be that much as such. Definitely not to warrant maybe a 5-6 second added on to your pit stop tyre change. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it unless the rate of attrition is incredibly high, but we've got quite a low track temp, which means the thermal deg isn't going to be too much. Tyre wear shouldn't be too drastic, and therefore I wouldn't expect to see many people taking the gamble by swapping tyres. No rain forecasted either, so it should be a fairly simplistic affair in terms of the strategy. Giuseppe Zampieri at the moment on the fringes of what could be a top 20 in this race as Gretchen moves his way past Miller to take that 20th place. Of course, Ryan Blanchett looking to go to the inside of Samuel Chumley, who usually is fielding the McLaren 720S. However, he's gone for something vastly different in the form of that Lexus RCF.
Yeah, he has. I mean, we pointed that out earlier with just how the Lexus is probably not everybody's first choice of car when it comes to it, but props on him for trying something different, perhaps. He's holding his own for now in P15 from Ryan Blanchett behind in the Porsche, so we'll see what that Lexus has got for him as he gets a bit squirrely through that corner. That was Cop's corner, and now he's side by side with Ryan Blanchett, but Blanchett just backs out quite sensibly. You can't really go side by side there. There's James Wright in the Lamborghini who's just spun round. He was getting very close to the back of Blanchett, and he's lost control of that silver and yellow Lamborghini, and he's getting himself back on the circuit.
Yeah, crawling his way back through, and will rejoin down, unfortunately, in 26th place, which is 25 places lower than he'd ideally want to be in this race. Make that 26 because he's 27th place, of course, behind Rubini. Christian Müller a little bit further up, 6th place as it stands in the Super Sprint round number 1. We've got the majority of the top 10 not really separated by too much apiece. DeMarco leads Henley by about half a second, ahead of Ella by about a second, and beyond that, the next biggest gap is between Stryker and Pinner for 10th place, and that in of itself is 1.1 seconds. So everyone seems to be keeping each other fairly, with some fairly good company together. No one really interested in leaving each other as such, but the problem that arises, Kelsey, is that they're almost too close to each other because the benefit you get from the slipstream is negated by the slipstream the driver ahead gets off their rival.
Yeah, it is, and it then just forms these trains, doesn't it? These slipstream trains or these draft trains, however you want to sort of coin them, and then it just becomes this sort of game of, well, if you can't overtake in the straight line, maybe it's going to be down to mistakes or making vastly brave moves in the corners, perhaps trying to brake later, or just, yeah, trying to get a better handle of the circuit. And I think that's where sometimes Silverstone can fall a bit short, is that it can sort of neutralise the racing when you've got these sort of draft trains that allow for these drivers to just sit close enough, but not able to touch the drivers ahead, I suppose. They're just outside of touching distance, if you want to put it that way. But there's sometimes you can get those moves done, but I think you have to really more so rely on what your other drivers are doing out there, and if they're making any errors through these corners, which it can be done. It's not easy to get the quick lines through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. It's not easy to stay consistent, but that's what a lot of these sessions are for. It's well, as the race goes on, I suppose it's easier to become more and more consistent. There's a lot of people in the chat asking to spectate car number 33, which is Mr. Disco, I believe. There he is. There you go. Samuel Disco. The Aston Martin is not quite close to anybody. It looks like, although he might be closing on Ryan Blanchette, but there you go. They wanted it. They got it.
Yeah, the ask and you shall receive. Do like me some discos. They are fairly decent crisps, so maybe you can hit us up. There we go, Leonardo Chiala trying to go to the outside of the Lamborghini. I think that's James Wright just ahead of him. And then the BMW of Mav Gardner, who is going to go to the inside through Abbey. Oh, wow, close to contact. Gardner just able to get away with it. That was very close indeed. Nearly did a little bit of gunning on his own onto the grass, and well, there we go. Pulls off to the left and out of this race. Fabio Ghiali is also side by side with Paolo Rubini. This is, of course, for 25th place as the Italian, unfortunately, is forced to back out of that one as well. Some decent competition throughout the entirety of this field. James Wright looking to start a resurgence back to the front of the top 20, but all in all, so far so good. We've got battles all the way through the field.
Yeah, we do, and I'm hoping that they explode that little bit more, and maybe the pit stops will have something to say about that. We're getting close to that pit window being open now. 20-minute pit window, of course, which means it opens at around the 30-minute mark, and then we'll see what the drivers do. Do they opt for overcuts, undercuts? It's not as long of a pit lane around here, actually, with the change of format. Normally, if the start-finish straight's on the Hamilton straight, you've got one of the longest pit lanes. Well, I guess as far as Formula 1 is concerned, I suppose it's one of the longest pit lanes. But it looks like we're going to have a move here. Is that going to be Syme making a move into the Vale chicane? Not quite. He thought about it in the 23 Porsche and then backed off, and has actually lost a bit of time, perhaps, as well, after sort of getting himself a little bit out of position. Perhaps should have waited another corner or so, but it's not as long of a pit lane, so you don't lose too much time. So whether you get an overcut or undercut is, I guess you've got to play it by ear, I suppose. And we talked a little bit about tyre wear, and you know, it's with the thermal deck being low and the high load, you'd think, you know, the combination of high load and high temperatures would make it the tyre wear a problem, but it's not so much here. And I think as well, old and new tyres around this circuit, just with the way it is and the way that the tyres react to this track as well, there's not much difference really in old and new tyres, in all honesty.
Yeah, fair play. Speaking of high loads, of course, just ask Jack Southfield. He's very good with that one, because he's one of the drivers that takes on all of the high loads in terms of swapping tyres midway through a race, because of course he drives his tyres into oblivion. And of course, remember back to Spa, one of the seasons in the PC GT3 series, whereby he did take tyres halfway through. It didn't quite work for him, so maybe he needs to rethink his load strategy in that regard. A little bit wide there from one of the drivers. It allowed Strip Prior through into 21st place, fighting away with Giuseppe Zampieri, as the pit window is now open for the next 20 minutes. And now into Cops Corner. Close enough, as he was able to hang on to that 20th place, but let's wait and see when we start to see the first round of pit stops going through.
Yeah, we will. Pit window open, of course, now. And Stuart Pry getting very close to the back of the car ahead of him. Meanwhile, Maurice Stryker trying to make up positions in towards the top 10. No, he's in the top 10 actually, trying to make his way even deeper into the top 10, into P9, just behind Tedder in the McLaren, ahead of him. Two titans of motorsport there, Ferrari and McLaren, of course, and they'll be long battling, I'm sure. We'd like to see a little bit of Maurice Striker out there on the track. I'm hearing that the banhammer has been uncovered, so Jack Southwood might be banned for the, I don't know, 1000th time. I don't know, he's probably been banned like every other week, from what I know, but I don't know, correct me on those numbers. If there is a number, actually, I won't be too surprised.
It's probably a number higher than Jack Southwood can actually count to. There is Valiero Poe, who unfortunately has had a small little bit of an issue, down in 31st place, so of course no major contender for high position, so still very unfortunate for the M4 Corsa machine. Back to the fight at the front, Christian Müller on the back of Damien Konchik. As there you can see, Coxey goes into the pit lane, one of the first of the front runners to do so and tick off that mandatory pit stop box. Will then obviously emerge, and I think that, to be fair, might not be a bad strategy. Of course, stuck in this train behind the two Audis, might just be worth getting some clear air to himself.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about the advantages of these sorts of trains, where, you know, it's easy to defend because even though you're getting the draft from the car ahead of you, you're getting the car ahead of you is getting the draft from the car ahead of that car, and then ahead of that car and that car, and it continues on up or down the line depending on where you are. And I mean, you're always disadvantaged as the lead car, but as long as you've got a decent enough gap, you can sort of manage it. But I guess one of the disadvantages of a train like that is the dirty air, the unsettled air from the cars ahead, which actually slows you down a lot more than not. So if you can get an early pit stop, get yourself out into some clear air, some clear track ahead of you that isn't being disturbed by the cars that are racing in front of you, then you can actually gain a lot of time on said cars, and then by the time those cars you were in a train with before come in, you've possibly gained time on them, and you may even come out ahead of them once they've come in to serve their mandatory stops.
Indeed, so getting word from Jack Southwood actually that he's never been banned from a TSRC chat before. Now there are two ways you can put that: is that Jack Southwood is really behaved, or he just gets lucky with the TSRC chat, because obviously that excludes all the other chats that he's been a part of, similar to the GTWC YouTube chat, though. He has firmly been banned from that one, and I'm not surprised. I'll be honest, his conduct is questionable, to say the least. Similar to his driving. Maurice Striker in 9th place, just behind, of course, Tedder in that fight for 8th. It'll never end. Jack Southwood's not even on the circuit, and yet he's getting absolutely ripped to pieces, as he deserves. Yeah, sometimes I do feel bad for him, sometimes I don't. Then I remember that he does deserve it. It's fine, because should we ban JSA? There's a poll up in the TSRC YouTube chat. For those obviously watching on the JP Broadcasting YouTube chat, head yourself over, subscribe, like while you're there, and then also click on that good old poll. At the moment, it's a 2/3 to 1/3 swing. There we go. It's now gone to 75 to 25%. I think the only person that hasn't voted for Jack is himself.
Oh dear, that's funny. Oh, Jack Southfield. I think he does himself worse when when he's here to actually defend himself. So when he's driving and we're taking the mick, he doesn't dig himself any holes, but he's dug one right now. Just to answer your question, Charles K, in the JPP chat, this is JPB. You're confusing me now, Zach. This is Assetto Corsa Competizione. I hope I've done that right. Zach says it better than me.
Charles Cullinan, yeah, of course, he's used to the iRacing side of things. Yeah, this is, of course, the Kunos wonderful creation of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Of course, sort of a sequel of sorts to Assetto Corsa, which, you know, this is of course just the GT3. I think it is Blancpain licensed to run all the GT3 stuff. Same with British GT as well. They have all the licensing rights to the GT3 machines, obviously all the liveries, all the drivers as such. Yeah, there you go. Probably one of the best sims for GT3s, albeit a very oversaturated market. The GT3s, iRacing do it, R2 do it, Gran Turismo do it, ACC does it, Wrench Sport now does it. there's a lot of GT3s out there, but if you want the best exclusive GT3 sim, then by all means, yeah, ACC I think is the one to go. Best balance of performance, best handling, best dynamic weather system as well. Good diversity of tracks. You can pretty much go anywhere, everywhere here on ACC. Into the pit lane for Andrea Amonte for the number 7 Mercedes. Into the pit lane from 13th, and let's hope that they don't suffer some unlucky 13 luck going through the pit lane. James Wright, however, he's not waited around at all in order to start a resurgence through the field.
No, he's certainly not. He's definitely getting his elbows out, trying to battle with the cars ahead of him. Two of those Italian Mafia cars. That's not their team name, of course, but Rosario Piazza knows the team name, perhaps, cheering on ACC Italia team.
Of course, and well, I mean, their name is the Nord-Est Racing Team, which I think is Northeast Racing Team, I assume, because Nord, North, Est, East, Northeast. I think. I don't think that is Italian. That sounds more German than anything. But
it could be Northeast Italy.
Yeah, I suppose. But why would they speak German? Unless that is Italian. Hang on, let me.
Is Venice in the Northeast? I probably shouldn't try geography.
East in Italian. Oh, it is Nord-Est. Fair enough. Fair dues. Fair dues. No, I just don't speak Italian. That's fine. I did have one with Duolingo for a while, but no. Okay, fair dues. Fair enough. Because I was thinking, obviously, of the Nordschleife, the Nord curve. You know, that sounds fairly German, but Italian as well. Funnily enough, Nord-Est. So yeah, maybe they are all from the northeast of Italy. Paolo Sisco, though, taking way too much of the curb going through Abbey. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a track limits excursion on that particular run through. We've still got just over half the race left to go.
Yeah, that was a lot of curb, wasn't it? He really was helping out the track maintenance guys, cutting the grass there, doing a bit of Bottas style driving, perhaps, going out onto the grass. But the track limits have slapped him with a little warning out there for going off the circuit. It's Miglioli. I think most of the drivers now are serving the pit stops as Gray's coming toward the front. Batiste's in as well on the Audi, car number 34 there. But I think Miglioli just behind Adam Brown, yet to serve his stop, and he'll want to try and get past Brown as quickly as possible if he can. Oh, and that's going to help him maybe. Oh, ooh, there you go.
Nice save.
Yeah. That was very Verstappen-esque, wasn't it, when he sort of turned around like that?
You can all see the Verstappen fanboy of Kelsey Gill shining through in full swing. Have you ever commented on that? No, you haven't. Do you know who has?
Definitely not a Verstappen fan.
I'm not. No, I'm not a Verstappen fan. The fanboy was firmly there on the Nürburgring 24 hours of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring on iRacing. It was slightly there. I was trying to hide it, but it was there. But yeah, there you go. Any Verstappen hate can be directed to both myself and Kelsey Gill, because we're both Verstappen fans, clearly. As Jack Southfield comes in to preach the unofficial Dutch national anthem. It's disgusting how much that gets stuck in my head. That song gets stuck in my head far too much at work, but that's a conversation for another day. We've got a close fight here. I mean, I have to say to Henley, considering his gap in qualifying to DeMarco over one lap was 0.3 of a second, he's kept him honest for the best part of half this race.
Yeah, this is slowly brewed while we've been waffling on and dealing with Jack Southfield in the chat. And it's, yeah, certainly going to be something to keep your eyes on. I wonder what happens when they when they come into the pit stops. When they come in together, will they come in separately? Who knows? About halfway through the pit window, Jack Southfield's old enough to drink. What? Who knew that? I'm not sure he should though, considering. But I was going to say something. Yeah, explain. Yeah, say what you want about Max Verstappen though. Man's a machine, absolute machine, and I've got to give credit where credit is due. And that's all I've got to say. If you want to argue, you can. Really, is the maths is facts are there, and I'm not a fan, not his biggest supporter. However, like I say, credit when credit is due. Hayden Miller says Jack Southfield is probably drunk now. and I can drive very well. I'm sure you can. I've seen it firsthand. Remember back to Donington Park, Jack? I remember. Kelsey always remembers.
Yes, he does. Always remember, apart from all the other times where he doesn't. Davide DeMarco, bit of traffic to contend with. Now this could be spicy, of course, with how close him and Ollie Henley are. There you can see Davide DeMarco having to take a slightly tighter line going through the loop and allowed Henley to maybe have a look, but that's not quite going to be the case. There's a bit of a twitch on the exit for the 3-4-3, but still no major changes. They're still able to carve their way through the traffic with little to no problem. Still waiting for the entirety of the top 8 as it stands to come into the pit lane, and that would be ideal if they could do so. Obviously, hopefully within the next 8 minutes, they can actually get through the race without a certain penalty. But leaving it fairly long, it seems, for these guys at the front.
Yeah, they are. They're waiting for the last sorts of moments. I think they must feel that the tyre wear isn't too bad around here, so they're not coming in, or perhaps that going in late is the better way to go. And they might be right, actually, because the track would be a much better place, and maybe they're going to take tyres. Who knows? I mean, it's always hard to tell. I wish there was a graphic, actually, that tells you. I think there might be. I'm trying to figure out what that little progressive line is next to each driver. I want to say it's the tyre wear. Oh, they're ping. There you go. It's ping. I should have known that, actually. That makes me sound like I've never been on the internet before. But there's Christian Müller making a pass, perhaps, down the inside of... is that... Yeah, it's the corner I forgot. Brooklands, there you go.
Wow.
Luffield, I forgot that corner the other day. But still, side by side, they go through Luffield. And like I say, it's hard to overtake around the outside because you're driven out wide and not wanting to go onto the grass. Müller backs off. And he's going to come again, perhaps looking to the outside of Kopp's corner, wanting to make that move stick if he can, not quite able to. So the big brain racing team car is going to continue to sit behind the Ferrari of Marchione for a little bit longer.
Yeah, for now, stop go 30 for the number 1 machine of Pinner. That is suboptimal, to say the least. Of course, stop go 30 dished out for speeding in the pit lane. Well, yeah, that is not great, to say the least. Of course, also living proof that Kelsey Gill does not remember everything, because he clearly forgot one of the most famous corners in motorsport, and hence why he is still on probation here at JP Broadcasting. Checking this, that's not a thing. Probably should be exclusively just for Kelsey. We'll just call it the I don't know. I was trying to make a play on word with probation. Just probation. Just Kelsey Gill probation, because it's unacceptable. How can you forget Brooklands?
There's a lot of corner names beginning with B, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember the reason I forgot it, but it was rather embarrassing the last time I did. But yeah, clearly not a big brain move from me. As we watch the big brain racing car make its way around, they're asking for 33 again, Kieran. I'm sure you'll give them what they want. But Henley's in, Zach, as is Maurice Stryker, and I can't say it. Kusic. There you go.
He is not coming off his probation. He is getting all the ticks and needs improvement when we go to perform his performance review. It's unacceptable. Kelsey Gill, it's absolutely unacceptable. Samuel Disco, of course. There is the 33 machine, the heart of racing, battling his way around in the Martin Vantage. And there we go, checking in on where he is. Ollie Henley leaves the pit lane. It's a race against time between himself and, of course, Davide DeMarco, who's stayed up for another lap. Ollie Henley's got to have a sensational outlap if he wants to have any chance of going for an undercut.
Yeah, he's got to really go, and that traffic just behind him doesn't get in his way, so that's going to help. That looks like it's Marchione and Müller who are fighting amongst themselves, and it is, I think, and he's going to want to not get overtaken here. He might have colder tyres than the two, just because he's had to come in and stop, and they look quite racy behind him as well. But Henley, he's got to put the laps in now. He's got to get his head down, and he's got to try and close as much that gap as he possibly can, because DeMarco's got to come in, maybe this lap, maybe the next lap at the latest, to try and cover him off.
Yeah, you'd think so. The undercut definitely is there. So Henley is going to have to drive the wheels off that car and hope that he's not going to be under pressure by Marchione or Christian Müller. into the pit lane does come Davide DeMarco from the lead of the race. It is a direct race against time then between these guys. They're here at the original pit straight. They've got to get all the way around to Copse by the time DeMarco is in and out of the pit lane. Locked controls for at least 30 seconds in the pit lane. So there you go. There's the bare minimum time that DeMarco can spend in the pit lane. So it could be close. Of course, they were about half a second separated when Henley came into the pit lane. Of course, we've got Ella that's actually 2.2 seconds ahead of Henley, and that's on pure race time. So we could well see the 777 take the lead.
Yeah, we certainly could. Yeah, Ella getting the big undercut there. I think they must have come out in a very nice gap of clear air and was just able to continue running without too much disturbance through there. But DeMarco's in and he's off once more. Let's keep an eye. He's making his way out of the pit exit and it's going to be going. I think he can punch it from there on. There he goes. Are there any cars approaching from behind him as he makes his way back onto the circuit? I think he's going to be unhindered as far as I can tell. There's no updates on the timing tower just yet, but just looking, there's no cars that are all that close to him.
There's Ollie Henley. He's only now going into Maggots and Beckett's. That is a huge jump to have made in the span of about, a lap, really. That is incredible. DeMarco must have just nailed his pit stop. I'm fairly baffled by that, I'll be entirely honest. There you can see Ella followed by Henley, and then just that small dot in the background of the shot going through Stowe into Vale. That is Davide DeMarco, who now leads by 5 seconds, which is tenfold on what his gap was before the pit stops.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take a look for everyone. Yeah, it's, wow, 5 seconds. 5.3 seconds. He's definitely got that perfect little stop there, and Henley's going to be a little bit confused perhaps, or a little bit miffed that Ella's managed to get himself ahead. I'm just taking a look. 39, there you go. 39's just made his way in towards Village. There's 77 now coming through Abbey and Farm. So yeah, there's your gap just on the track map there that I'm looking at. And there's a nice little gaggle of cars just behind the 777 actually. They're not all too close together, but if any mistakes are made, they'll definitely be making up places, as Michael Syme trying to make a place up on Tedder in the McLaren, the number 2 car. McLaren and the Porsche taking different lines through there, and a wider line is going to allow the Porsche to try and go around the outside of the loop. I think he might be able to get this one done on the power earlier than the McLaren, but they're still side by side now as they go through Aintree. Off the circuit goes the Porsche. That'll unsettle the car, but they're going to continue this drag race all the way into Brooklands. Are they going to continue to be side by side as they make the way through? No, the Porsche breaks that a little bit later, is confident, blocks the way through, back onto the racing line, and is up into P9.
Nicely done by Michael Syme, and a very interesting team name, Amigos Porker Pig, which is fair enough. Obviously getting friendly with some Porker Pigs apparently for Michael Syme, which is fair dues. Whatever floats your boat. James Wright back inside the top 20 by the way, which is a sensational recovery drive for the 46 machine. He's driving the wheels off that Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. Just under 11 minutes left to go in this first round of the TSRC PC GT3 Series Super Sprint, of course. And getting word, of course, that getting word, of course, that Henley took tyres, the others didn't, which obviously explains his bigger gap to the rest. And well, let's see if that is going to be a good return on investment for him. At the very least, I think he is going to be able to find his way past Jan Ella. And getting told that Amigos Porker Pig, average Sharpie saying, of course, that the team is founded by good old David Cameron. But we won't get too political. Christian Müller, Damon Konchik fighting over 5th place.
Yeah, they must be part of the same team, although that's not the racetrack. Konchik, he can't be going off there too much. I'm sure the stewards will penalise you for that one, but Henley's closed that gap by a little bit actually, and I say a little bit, he's now closed it by half a second as the timing tower updates itself. One day we'll get a live timing tower on ACC, I'm sure. I won't hold my breath though, he also says. But Henley, the tyres seem to be working out for him at the moment, and there's Ela being chased by Henley. The two of them very close together now, and I think Henley, it might be a matter of when, not if, on this one, just because I think he's got that little bit more grip, and the Mercedes doesn't look as sharp and pointy around this circuit as that McLaren does.
No, not quite. And Henley, of course, with the fresher tyres, will surely saw his way past. I don't quite think he's got enough time. We don't think he's absolutely got enough time to go after DeMarco. We'll maybe be able to make a dent, but 9 minutes for 5.5 seconds plus getting the move done. Near on impossible, I would say, for Henley. Yeah, now they're going to be forced to go defensive on this run through the hangar straight towards Stowe corner. Let's see if the Mercedes can defend. To the outside goes Henley. Fresher tyres should surely be able to saw his way through. Not quite able to, as Janela are able to confidently defend that one, at least for now. Constantly having to look over his shoulder, though, pulls over to the left-hand side. Henley once more looks to the outside, but no way through for now for the McLaren.
Yeah, some good confident defensive driving from Ela. That was smart to take that inside and compromise that line. There's, again, the Stowe corner is another corner where you have to sort of swoop out wide, so you risk perhaps coming together or being run off the circuit if you continue to stick it out there. But a little bit of a mistake from the number 777 driver, so trying to, well, the tyres not really being used to the best effect as they have been worn over the last 32 minutes of racing as we continue to go on. And Henley, you can see, is all over the back of the Mercedes, and the Mercedes is going to be forced to go defensive once again in towards Brooklands now. The McLaren looks to the outside, doesn't find a way through there, maybe going to try and make a move into Luffield, perhaps setting it up. You can see, tries to go around the outside. It's a hard thing to do at Luffield, but can he get a better exit than the Mercedes ahead? I think that's what he's trying to set up here as he goes. Look how close he is to the back of the Mercedes. Is he going to pull alongside in towards Cobb's corner now? He's forcing Elo to go defensive as they go in towards Cobb's middle of the track. The Mercedes is, and continuing to hold off, but what a switch back through Cobb's corner. Now is ahead by about half a car length, and by the time they reach the corner is ahead into P2.
Beautiful move, and Henley finds his way, of course, ahead, which is obviously great for him, and now can start his pursuit forwards versus Davide DeMarco. I think it is going to be all in vain in the end of this race because, yeah, it is a tricky one. But maybe Yellow can launch a counter-attack. This is the fight, though. Christian Müller under pressure from Damien Konchik, who pulls out to the right-hand side, goes to the inside of Stowe and takes the track away, takes the corner away. And now behind is the German driver. A little bit of a snap of oversteer on the exit, though, from Damien Konchik. That could force him to go defensive again, but I think some team play at hand here for Konchik, who is going to be able to find his way past and might well be able to have a good look at Marchione in the near future.
Yeah, I did spot him flashing the lights at his teammate there, Konchik, and I think that might have been saying, hey, look, I'm faster, let me go ahead and I'll drag you as close as I can to Marchione there, as that's where they're fighting. I think they're trying to get themselves both into the top 5, so that's that fight toward the front. What is Britt Baptiste doing, the American driver, of course, car number 34 for Healthy Motor Team in the Audi. In a little bit of a fight with Disco, of course. That's DQ Dave's favourite driver out there. Jack Southfield's been charting the name as well, or charting the number 33 at least. That sounds like a Max Verstappen fan if I've ever heard one, but holding on to P15 for the time being is Baptiste.
Yeah, and doing a great job. Of course, we'd like to find his way past on Gray if possible, but then Disco will be having the cheers and he's going to go for 2 in 1. What a move that could be on the inside of Baptiste, who is going to carry the speed to the outside. They could run 3 wide going into the loop outside, of course, for Disco. Boxed in, unfortunately, is Baptiste, and that is going to allow Disco to have a run to the outside of Aintree. Let's have a look. Push to the outside of the circuit, over the grass, a bit of contact. He rejoins shakily as the run now towards Brooklands corner. It's the outside once more for the 33 machine. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes, but Baptiste is so much later, too late, in fact, and even though there's a bit of a twitch and hesitation, Disco with a slide and a squirm finds himself once again alongside, but it's all in vain. He only is able to settle for 16th.
Oh, I'm shocked he's still in a straight line. You saw how squirrely he was coming through Brooklands and into Luffield as well. The car just wanted to start spinning. The rear end wanted to be at the front, and that's not where it wants to be as we go through there. But he's still in this. They've invited now Ryan Blanchette into the fray as well. So the three of them, I think the car ahead of them No, it's not a lapped car. It's definitely in the fight. There's 3 of them all going through, and there goes Disco trying to go around the outside of the Audi up ahead of them. There's not much there in it, and they're all still very close together down. They're in the middle of the pack, but it's not taking anything away from this exciting battle we've got going on here.
Beautiful racing. And not long left to enjoy it. These guys are going to have to bring their A game. The Porsche just in behind of Ryan Blanchet. It is battling away with the Audi R8. Here comes Samuel Disco to the outside of one of the big brain racing cars. There's 3 wide in the background. Disco trying to get underneath Gray if he can, but not quite able to. It's now the downhill run towards the Vale chicane. Ryan Blanchet ducking and diving and searching for a gap, but no way past for now for the Porsche. There is James Wright as well, who could be knocking on the door for top 15 finish. We've got just over, I'd say, 2 laps left to go in this race by the time that we see the leader cross the line, maybe 3 if we're lucky. Blanchet a little bit behind, squirming for a gap. Samuel Disco goes to the inside of Gray, but around the outside for the Audi R8 is absolutely sensational. He's able to keep the agility, he's able to keep his foot in, and off the road there. Oh my goodness me, I think that's Batista into the path of Blanchet.
That was an incredibly dangerous rejoin. What was he thinking going back onto the circuit there?
Oh, well, it depends how much control he had in this car, because he might not really have had much of a choice. But Batiste, unfortunately, down to 18th place, and well, fireworks ablaze for the few moments that, of course, that particular incursion of accidents happen. Let's take a look, because he goes for a move, gets tapped ever so slightly, and then he is in control. He's not able to stop though. I don't really know how to call that, in all fairness.
I think in that moment you've got to take your foot off the throttle and maybe just think, I'm going to come out onto the racing line here, let's try not to do that, and hope to God I don't get a penalty.
Yeah. The case, but there's not long left of this race left to go at all, so hopefully we'll find out in due time. I don't think the stewards can make any in-game proceedings, but we'll have to wait until post-race to see anything come about of that one. Damien Konchik has been able to move his way up the order and up the road towards Marchionne for 4th place. The Polish driver on the back of the 86 machine. Let's see what can come about of this one. The fight for the lead unfortunately fizzled out due to Henley taking some tyres at the pit stop. Tumbles to 7 seconds behind Davide DeMarco, going on to the final lap of this race, a little bit wide from the BMW, just to allow these 2 fighting leaders through. They're not a million miles away either from Jan Eller.
No, they're not, and I'm just keeping my eye on the track map, because I think our leader has started the final lap now, so yeah, this is definitely going to be the final lap, perhaps, or it could be close, actually.
Ooh.
We'll keep an eye on it as Disco's off the circuit now too, but going through, is there going to be any contact on the exit of that corner? Not quite, but fighting his way through. I think with Gray and Blanchet there for position number 14, and he might lose 2 places in one corner as he goes through, or at least that whole sequence of corners, and off the circuit he goes again. Disco giving the gas a good old trim for measure and falling back down, and ahead of them Blanchet and Gray now side by side in towards Brooklands, and you've got Disco trying to find a way through as well. Goes off the circuit, perhaps tags Gray but straightens him back out, but he does lose a place for that. He won't be too happy, the Audi, with that little bit of contact, but this battle still continues to go on.
Yeah, 43 seconds left on the clock, and what a battle it is, what a race it is, and what an intro to what should be a fantastic season of racing. Pietro Marchionne under pressure still, practically pushing him through Abbey Ease. Konchik, we've got 30 seconds on the clock and about a third of a lap left to go. Are we going to get one more? I don't quite think so. It's going to be DeMarco that could well take the lead of the championship with a race victory here. 6.7 seconds clear of Ollie Henley in 2nd place. There he is, the Italian driver who's led from pole position, has nailed the strategy and been ever consistent in each and every single stride that comes his way. 4 seconds on the clock, and he is going to take the checker flag here in Silverstone. It's pole to victory for Davide DeMarco. The 39 machine, of course, runs his way through Woodcut. You've got Suzuka and Brands Hatch left to go if he wants to spark a championship campaign, but he starts it in good stead. Victory here in Silverstone for the Italian, ahead of Henley and Ella in 2nd and 3rd. Have to say, a cracking race and a well-deserved race victor.
Yeah, for sure. Nice and easy one. He controlled it from the start, didn't he? He made sure he positioned his car properly, got in front, kept Henley at bay as well. And Henley did look racy, did look like he had something in there in the car as they go. This is Miller and James Wright making moves as well. It looks like Gray down the inside of, I think that's a lapped car actually through there. Oh, and a little bit of contact for a good measure coming through the loop as well with Marcus Miller in the Ferrari, but it looked like a fairly put together race. I think Henley, I don't know, I think going for tyres wasn't the best of moves considering the track conditions at the moment, and he probably could have, I think if I was in his shoes, perhaps I'd have stayed and matched whatever DeMarco did. I think come in at the same time, keep that pressure on him.
I agree. But all in all, a successful start to the season, it must be said. It's hopefully going to tip us up for some great action. Wait for the last couple of stragglers to cross the line, similar to this one. A fight for 24th as Antonello Pinner goes to the inside of Chiala. They are going to run side by side through the penultimate corner here at Brooklands. The McLaren chose to go the long way round, has the Lamborghini got his foot down to the floor in order to contend. A photo finish potentially on the cards as Pinner keeps his foot planted even through the gravel at times, but the shorter run for Chiala is going to see him take 24th place, only 81 thousandths of a second clear of Pinner at the end of it. Paolo Sisco with a stop-go 30 is going to see that transferred into a very substantial 60-second penalty in 26th. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give you the final running order of that race. Davide DeMarco ahead of Henley and Ella. On the podium, it was the 777 taking the fastest lap of the race as well. Then comes Pietro Marchione and Damian Konchik, the top 5 ahead of Christian Müller and Marie Stryker, able to make some good progress forward. Michael Simon, Copsy Tedder round off the top 10 ahead of Ukasic, Chamley and Monte in 11th, 12th and 13th. Blanchet and Disco, the top 15, will let the rest of the names funnel their way through because there are a lot of them. Batiste, Gray, Wright, Miller, Zampieri, Gretchen, Miglioli, Rubini, Giala, Pinner, Cisco, Giardi, Poli, Brown, West, Pryor, Persici, Gardner and Collier to round off the 34 car field that took to the grid today. Kelsey, good start to the season and a promising one ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've got Suzuka next week and then Brands Hatch to round everything up. And we all know Suzuka, it's a fantastic circuit and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing however many cars we get this time. Hopefully the same amount, perhaps that 34, maybe that magic 38 if everybody decides to show up. But it's going to be, I'm going to be looking forward to it. Another round of fantastic racing here with TSRC. And it should be a lovely little way to see us into Christmas.
Should be indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, of course, for joining us on your respective channel, whether it's the JP Broadcasting one or the Sim Racing Collective. If you haven't already subscribed to the other one, to the one that you're watching, make sure to do so. If you've not subscribed to the one you're watching on, then that's even worse, and you should also do that right now. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I've had Kelsey Gill alongside me in the commentary booth. Kieran Sharp, of course, behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, making the broadcast look ever pretty and catching all of the action that came here in Silverstone. It was a very well-deserved victory for the McLaren on home soil. And, well, hopefully we should see some more raring action. In a week's time, we'll take to Suzuka for round number 2 on the 7th of December. Same time, of course, 8 p.m. in the UK. Translate that to wherever you are around the world because it's going to be one that you don't want to miss. In the meantime, from ourselves here in the commentary booth, it's goodbye for now.